Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. Today I'll be working on my orange tree. We're also going to be going back in time and looking at the history of this tree to see how it's developed to this current state. I've also got some plasticine modeling clay, and I'm going to be making forms and casting cement pieces. I'm going to be top pruning the orange tree today, getting the branch structure back in shape. I'm going to leave the repotting till tomorrow because I have ingredients for my soil on order and they won't be in until either late today or tomorrow morning. We're still on lockdown, so everything has to be ordered for curbside pickup. So I have my safety Zorb here, so I'm just waiting for my perlite to come in. This tree was last repotted in 2016, and I gave it a really good root pruning, getting the nice radial root system and a flat bottom to the root system. And you can see that trunk flare developing even more now at the base of the tree. So that's looking really good. I've been looking at the top structure of this tree, and even though I've done a lot of work to it over the years, it still doesn't have a very nice, pleasing and flowing design to it. So I may have to do a lot of pruning today to get it back on track once again. Let's take a trip back in time now and take a look at the history of the tree. Today we're going to be repotting this orange tree. There it is. And we'll get the tree out of the pot. That's coming out now. There's a shot of the roots. Taking the shape of the pot nicely and yeah, pretty dense. So let's get the moss stripped off the top. We may reuse it. It's nice and green. And we'll start raking out our roots. We'll start from our base of our tree and rake outwards on both the top and the bottom. Okay, I think we're gonna flip the tree over and see what we can do on the bottom. The roots are pretty tough on the bottom. I think we're gonna have to do some cutting kind of get rid of that bottom layer for starters. Yeah, there's quite a tough mat on the bottom. Fairly thick roots too. Well, we might be able to start raking that out. It's looking a little better. So I'm going to further cut back these large roots that are heading straight down. All right, we'll just wash the roots and I'll be back. I'm going to comb the roots out again. I'm going to take these large roots right back to the base of the tree, right down. So we'll start with that. We want to keep our root base flat on the bottom. I think we can even go further back than that. There's a few roots around this side of the tree that are kind of high also. I don't want this tree to be like a slanting style or anything. I want it fairly upright. So I think we got to trim some of these higher roots off this side. There is a thick root in here that needs trimming back a little harder. We want to prune our thicker roots back and let the thinner ones grow to kind of equalize the root base. So we have a nice balance of roots all the way around. Keep them moist while we're working on them. Pretty flat on the bottom now. I think that'll do. Let's plant our tree. I've got our pot ready with the soil and screens in. That looks better. The roots fill the pot nicely. There's room for them to grow. Combing out those ones I can correct. So that's it today for our orange tree, or dwarf orange tree. The tallest tree in my plant room is my dwarf orange tree. It just shot up this year, so that'll be the first tree that I'm going to start pruning. The last video on this tree was just over a year ago, and I had repotted the tree. And since then it's just been let to grow, and grow it has. It's quite tall now. Here I go with the pruning now. Taking off this lower branch. Making a nice clean cut. Up top here I have another branch that I have to remove. I don't want 3 branches coming from one area of the tree. I'll come in now and remove that branch also. just like that. With the orange tree all pruned up, it's time to go on to another tree. My next citrus tree is my dwarf orange tree. I have a branch that grows behind here. You can see it here. And it kind of grows in a funny direction after it, leaves the trunk here. Now, I don't like that. I don't like it from the front view. I don't like that weird bend from any view. So I either have to cut it off totally or cut it off and see if something sprouts in a better direction. I will try cutting it off and just see if something sprouts in a good direction. So here I go. I'll just cut it off square like that. If something sprouts from this stub, that'll be good. If it doesn't, I'll just prune it off flush and we'll rely on branching up top. There's one gone. At the apex of the tree, I've kept that woody branch, and I want to keep one other branch so it divides from 1 into 2. And I'll keep my most upright branch, which is this one, and prune away all the rest. So here I go. Gone. And that's it, reduced to its bare structure. This tree had a lot of vigor in it, so after today's operation, it'll recover quite quickly, putting out new shoots all over the place. It's time to get out the next citrus tree. This orange tree has a great big long shoot on it, so I'll cut it back just to make it a little more compact. So here I go. I think I'm going to take it right back to here. No, yeah, here. Just taking, the long part of the shoot off. Some of this off. There's a long one here too that needs pruning back. That makes it a little more compact, and it'll fit in the plant room a lot easier. Into the plant room it goes. I've chosen this as the front of the tree, and it has the nicest trunk line when viewed from the front. The trunk kind of comes forward towards you a bit, which is always nice, rather than kind of leaning away from the viewer. If you look at it in the side view, you can see how it kind of comes towards the front of the tree, the trunk line. So that's a good thing. If we go up the trunk line here, I've got 2 branches coming from the same spot on the tree. One's a younger branch that developed, I think, last summer, and the other one's an older branch here. So one of those has got to go, and I've got to choose which one. I'm always looking for nice flow lines on the tree. Smooth transitions from the trunk flowing upwards, and this branch is more horizontal, and this one tends to flow upwards a little nicer, or a little better. It is kind of coming from the front of the tree, so this would have to be either the main leader of the tree, and the one behind would have to be, pruned back so it's less vigorous. Or the tree could be rotated a bit so this branch is more coming off the side. I kind of want to build a basic upright structure on the tree. So I think I'll start by taking this branch off. We'll eliminate that branch. All right, so here I go. I'll come in with my branch pruners, take a nice flush cut, just like that. In nature, branches usually don't emerge from the inside of a curve. It happens, but I think I'll take that off. It doesn't look very nice. So I'm going to take this branch off also. So here I go. Like that. The tree is making progress. I'm going to go down to this lower section here. I cut off this double kind of trunk before because the one trunk kind of curled around behind this one. So I cut it off short, hoping something would develop. And I did. I got 3 new branches in this area. So I'm going to pick out my best branch and prune the others away. Here's a look at that area. So here's the stump where I cut it off. And I have a skinny branch coming out front like that. I've got kind of a duplicate branch or a mirror image coming out the back. And then I've got another one that, again, awkwardly kind of crosses behind the main trunk. So I'm going to take this one off for starters. It's just in a bad place. So that's gone. Like that. That leaves me with two. Now I have to pick the branch I want to keep here. There's nothing much coming forward on the tree, so I'm kind of leaning towards keeping the thinner branch and taking this one off because I have other back branches on the tree, but not much coming forward. So I'm going to take that one off, the larger one off the back here. Like this. Here I go. That's gone. And then I'm going to prune back this stub, clean that cut area up. All right, so I'll come in and just clean it up. Like that. There, that looks good. There's a look at the cut. That should heal quite nicely. With this branch here, I have a branch coming up, and then I have another branch directly below it. So it's like a sideways Y shape. And that never looks very good on a tree, having one branch underneath another. So I'm going to prune the lower one off, keeping my more upright one. So here I go. Like that. I'm going to prune this branch back also. It's getting too long. So I'll have to find a nice point to prune it back. I've got some good division here. I'll take the tip off here, like that. Take this vertical branch off, this vertical branch off, and this vertical branch off. And then I'll cut this one back to there. Now I've got one vertical here I've got to take off also, so there. That kind of gets that branch in shape. I've been looking at possible fronts for the tree, and there's a good one here. If I swing that around to about there, it shows this division nicely. I've got a back branch, one coming a little forward. It looks quite nice in this view. It needs cleaning up in the canopy, but I think that's a pretty good possible front. So I'm going to mark that like that. So there's a good possible front for the tree. I'm just looking to see if there's anything better. I don't think there is. I think that has to be the front for the tree, right about there. So now I'll start pruning up this upper canopy. All right, I'm going to turn it towards me. There's a lot of branches. I want everything kind of flowing. There's one here that kind of comes back in on the tree. That's got to be removed, so I'll take that one off for starters. Like that. There's a branch going straight up there. It doesn't look very good. I'm going to take that off. Like that. I've got a branch hanging down. Here's my division. I've got to take that branch off here. I've got this branch kind of comes up straight, and then there's a little shoot here that continues that straight line. I don't think I want that. I want to keep my other one, so I'll take that one off. And again, I don't want it dividing here because there's one branch on top of another. So off that one comes. Like that. So everything's kind of fanning out now. I'll just prune the tip off some of these branches to get them a little shorter and more compact. Like that. Now I can deal with the structure on this side. I pruned up the branch on the right-hand side here, kind of balancing the vigor with the one on the left-hand side, so they'll kind of grow out a little more equally. The tree's looking much better from the front view now. I am going to reduce this back branch, just take it back a little more, like that. That's got that pruned up nicely. Quite a severe pruning today. I took a lot of branches off the tree. After the period of dormancy, this tree should be really vigorous. I may even get buds coming out all over the trunk, which I can further develop into branches. So the tree is developing quite nicely. It's some of these bulges in the trunk are beginning to smooth out. The scars are healing over. It's getting nice bark on it, and it's starting to get a nice tree-like form. So I'll keep growing it and developing it into the future. And someday I'm sure we'll get it to flower and have the little oranges all over it. The pot that this tree is in is a really old one. It's one of the very first bonsai pots I ever bought. I don't know what quality it is, but it's got cracks in it. It has a crack here that runs down, and there's one at the back here. This pot has never seen frost, so all these cracks must be just stress cracks in the clay. So I'm going to find a new pot for it when I go to repot it tomorrow. Hopefully, as the years go by, I'll keep working on the tree and we'll develop it into this beautiful, graceful orange tree. And yeah, I'll just keep working away at it. Always picking my best branches, pruning the ones I don't like away, and eventually a nice tree will emerge. It's time now to do some cement casting using plasticine as the mold. I'll open up the box. Get it out. This is Crayola I'm using, the brand. We used to have a lot of plasticine around the house, but I think it just got too old and started cracking. So I had to go out and get some new stuff. So here it is. Isn't that very clever, eh? From the outside it looks like the box is just full of it. And then you look in the inside, there's this big hollow space. Thanks, Crayola. Even though there's that big empty space in the box, I think I still have plenty of plasticine to make the small molds that I'll be doing today. In my Chinese cityscape Penjing here, these buildings were sold as planters. So in the top, there's a big open square. And I thought, well, it would be nice to cast, a duplicate of this roof and then position it over on top of the building. And same with the large one. Cast a replica of this roof and then put it on top of the building over here. So that's what I'm going to try and do today. I'm going to try and take a mold of the roof here with plasticine and then put my cement into the mold, and hopefully I can get a nice roof to fit in there. Here's a look at the roof section and the one that's just empty. I just have that Buddha in there. So I want to put like a roof like this over top here. I'm just pruning a few leaves away that are close to the roof so I can get in here easily with my plasticine. I'll open up my plasticine now, start kneading it so it's nice and soft and I can squish it down on the roof and make my mold. Hopefully this will work, I don't know. It smells kind of nice too. They must have added some scent to it because in the old days plasticine didn't smell at all. I don't think the cement will stick to this plasticine. I think, it's oily enough that I can peel this plasticine off the cement piece once it's formed. That's my hope anyway. I added a horse to the Penjing. I think it looks kind of nice. It's about the right scale. I'll show you a viewer sent in a picture of a Penjing they made using these same buildings. I'll show you a picture of that now. I'm also going to add some rosemary cuttings to the front here to look like little bushes. So yeah, I'm hoping to do that today or tomorrow also. I've got my plasticine all squished together, and it only has to be wide enough to make a roof for this section. So I'm actually a little wide here, but that's okay. So now I'm going to fit it to the house here and then press it down. I'm not sure how well this is going to go, but here I go. So I'll have to squish it fairly hard into all the roof tiles to get that nice texture that I'm after. And then hopefully I can get this plasticine back off of the roof. And hopefully it'll capture that texture. I'm thinking I have it pushed down enough that it's into the tiles and captured the texture. And the roof ridge here, I am worried about getting it off. That does worry me. Okay, here I go. I gotta peel it off now. So I'll start with the bottom here. Like this, and hopefully it'll stay in one piece. Off the roof ridge. And there it is. So there it is. It's not perfect, but I think it'll look okay. Now I'm just going to test fit it here, so I'm quite wide. I'm going to trim up the edges on this mold to make them kind of square them up like that. Okay, so I got to make my end caps. Let me get all my spare plasticine together here. The other thing I might have to do is trim my length. I better check that. Yeah, I don't want my roof to stick up too high, so I better make a square surface along the bottom here. So that'll come down like that. And I need to take a little bit off of the other side. So the height is pretty good, I just got to make it equal. It's like making a clay pot. Okay, so that's got my bottom capped. Let me put my piece up top now. I don't know if this is going to work. But that's the fun part of doing projects like this, is you never know if they're going to work out or not. You try it and, well, if it wasn't successful, well, you learn what not to do. There's my top piece. So I will put my top piece on now. I'll flip it over. I'm just smoothing out all my seams here so the cement doesn't get caught in these cracks. So I'm just kind of making a fillet there. Okay, so that's my mold. It's actually looking pretty good. For my cement, I'm using commercial grade Quikrete, and it's hydraulic water stop cement. It seems to work nice, and it's a nice fine powder. All right, I'm going to add the cement to this ice cream container. I don't know how much I'll need. I'll just mix up what seems to look about right. Maybe just a little more. So it says it dries and it hardens in about 2 to 3 minutes. This is a high strength cement. And it does harden fairly quickly. I've used it before. Okay, so I'm going to add water now. I want to mix it so it's liquid enough that it runs into all the features on the mold. So I don't want it too solid like putty. And I don't want it too runny. I'm going to try adding it to the mold now. All right, here I go. Make sure it's firmly pushed in. We don't want any air bubbles in the mold. So getting it in all the corners, hopefully getting all the air bubbles out. Kind of spreading it out to the side so I can get my tile detail in that. And I might have enough cement here, I'm hoping. If I kind of spread it out to the sides, maybe. Okay, so that's kind of got my roof in place there.
It's kind of level with the top of the mold. I've kind of got a V shape in the middle, a hollow section. I think that's it. We just got to let it dry now. I've got everything cleaned up and I'm just checking on the cement. It's getting harder. It'll change to a really light color when it's dry, so it's easy to tell when it's ready to take out of the mold. My cement roof is slowly drying. I'm going to leave it overnight before I take it out of the mold. I hate to leave this video with a cliffhanger ending, but I better let it dry thoroughly before I start peeling away the plasticine. So I got my orange tree pruned up today, and I'll be repotting that on tomorrow's video also. So I hope you stay tuned and check out part 2. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me today in the Bonsai Zone.